Hey guys, I'm recording this the old school way, and my topic is drought in the American Southwest. So on the right, that's an image from NASA. They use satellites to detect the severity of droughts throughout the country in 2018. But as you can tell, the most severe droughts were in the American Southwest and in North Dakota too. And then these are some news headlines that I found on the internet that show the severity and the impact that these droughts have on our country as a whole. Now what's causing these droughts? Well, a lack of water in the soil. So this is another graphic from NASA. They use satellites to detect the amount of moisture 5 inches below the surface in our soils. And if I overlay this image with the last one I just showed you guys, typically where it's the driest is where we see the most severe droughts. So for my research report, I found two different claims as to what is causing these droughts. And the first one is probably what most of you guys are guessing, climate change, right? But more specifically, rising temperatures. Because when temperatures rise, water in the soil gets evaporated and it's no longer accessible as water because it's in a gaseous form. But the problem with the American Southwest is that a lot of that precipitation ends up going to other places because it's so flat and dry and barren and hot. They don't get a lot of rain and precipitation out there in general. And when they do, most of that is in the spring, fall, and winter seasons, which is another reason why rising temperatures cause more droughts in the American Southwest, because during the spring, fall, and winter, that's when states in the American Southwest depend on a lot of that precipitation and water that they get to use in the summers. But when temperatures are rising, right, we see an earlier snowmelt and runoff, shorter seasons. And so there's less of a chance for precipitation during that time. Now, what's behind rising temperatures? Well, greenhouse gas emissions, but especially carbon dioxide, right? And I chose this graphic because it shows a clear correlation between the amount of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere and how temperatures are rising with the amount of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. And that's because these greenhouse gases trap the sun's rays in our atmosphere, and as a result, our planet warms, okay? And now the second claim as to what is causing these droughts has to do with weather patterns, but specifically El Nino, which is something that I'm familiar with living on the East Coast, Massachusetts. We see a lot of winter storms because of El Nino. So basically, there's a lot of cold water down here in Antarctica, and during a typical year, right, there's a strong ocean current called the Humboldt Current that takes that water up and over into the Pacific, along with these trade winds that blow, precipitation out of the American Southwest, and all that stuff ends up pooling over here around these island nations in the Pacific. And that's why we hear a lot about like typhoons and storms in the Philippines, Singapore, the coast of Japan, okay? But during an El Nino year, we don't get a strong Humboldt current and we don't get strong trade winds. And what happens is that all that warm water and those rain clouds travel this way, and we actually see rain in the American Southwest. But typically, this is the same graphic as this one, just blown up. It's really dry and warm during a typical year because all of the precipitation is out in the Pacific, okay? And now, drought is a really big issue because we all need water, to drink to live. And people in Texas and Nevada and New Mexico and the list goes on, Southern California, they don't have water to drink. And so eventually if this problem worsens, they're going to have to find new places to live. And like we talked about in class last week, it's not really fair that people who aren't really causing these problems are the ones suffering from these problems. Okay? And the second reason why these droughts are a big issue is because there are a lot of farms and crops out in the American Southwest and the American Midwest. And obviously we need water and irrigation systems to grow these crops, and without that water, these crops will shrivel and die. And on the East Coast and anywhere else in the globe, I'm sure we'd see the effects of that because we'd have less food to eat. Okay? And the third reason why these droughts are a big problem that we should all worry about is because areas that have severe droughts are very susceptible to forest fires, Southern California, right? And forest fires are horrible for the environment and people because they'll destroy your home, they'll destroy your life. All that carbon dioxide and smoke goes out in the atmosphere and we breathe it in the air. I mean, this summer, I was working in Cape Cod, and the smoke from the forest fire was traveling up from Southern California all the way up to Cape Cod. And there were a couple like gray, like the sky was gray and kind of like hazy because of the smoke from those forest fires. It was all Cape Cod to California. It's crazy. It's crazy. And one thing we can do to stop these droughts from worsening, we should focus on our greenhouse gas emissions. And if we all ride our bikes to work this summer instead of driving our cars, we can actually save a lot of pollution from entering our atmosphere, because who knows, maybe friends and family will be inspired by what you're doing and do the same thing, and the web will grow, and we can pollute a lot less because of that. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and have a great day.